Well, it's really very simple. Shall I answer? Mike can elaborate. So of course, the clarinet is what we call a single reed instrument. Mike has one reed that's bound to the mouthpiece. There it is. And my reed is what's called a double reed instrument, where the two blades of the cane, they're called, are bound together one against each other. So alone makes a funny sound. Anyway, okay. So you don't want to demonstrate it about. And beyond that, the clarinet is cylindrical, the bore is cylindrical, and it overblows at a 12th, the interval of a 12th, if that makes any sense. So you're beyond an octave A, 12, a couple more steps like that. The oboe is, on the other hand, is conical. And when I give classes and lecture about the oboe to little kids, I always just tell them it looks like an upside-down ice cream. Okay? Ice cream. Oh, and by the way, the flute used to be conical like that.
Oh, I didn't know.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Now it's cylindrical. But the oboe overblows, we call it, at an octave. The natural interval is an octave. That way, just with the register, whereas it's a 12.
Very good, very good. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, so if anyone would like to answer this is okay. Can you talk about the reasons we don't clap between movements? And that's coming back now. I mean, it's not frowned upon when people clap between movements, but maybe Suzanne, any ideas that you want to share this? I don't know why it stops. I know the old, back in Beethoven or whatever, they used to clap all the time. And even kind of like jazz, you know how when you go to a jazz club, when somebody blows and then somebody claps, and then the next person does their little thing. And they used to do that as well. But then somehow, somebody got very touchy. Yeah.
I think the reason we don't clap between movements is largely because it's supposed to, well, maybe this sounds a little snobby, it's not meant to be at all, but it's like the totality of thought. The symphony is supposed to be 4 movements, it's supposed to be one basic idea, even if they're not, well, they should be somewhat related, so you want to hold your concentration. Is that the answer?
The concentration is correct.
Hold your concentration.
On the other hand, there are articles these days written about how it should not be frowned upon. If an audience is feeling excited and moved by the music, you don't want to force them to not show their appreciation. So, I don't know how you guys feel. Yeah, well, anyway. Okay, Jamie, if you don't mind, how does it feel performing in a concert hall versus a small church having a score fee from the nearest audience member? How do you feel? The difference between performing in Symphony Hall and performing here?
This last conversation about between movements is gave this good idea. You know that Occupy Wall Street stuff? Yeah. So if you want to clap between movements, do the Occupy Wall Street. We can start it here now, and then you go to Symphony Hall, everyone's going to think you're completely insane.
What is the difference between a violin and a viola? A structural difference.
Well, it's a bit lower than the violin.
Please stand.
It's like imagine a really big, tall man with a very low voice and a very high voice. I'm the very little woman with the very high let's do our strings. Okay, you up?
go onto Google and look up viola-gist, because one of the funniest answers is, what's the difference between a violin and a viola? A viola burns a fifth longer.
Google has their own viola joke, which is that when you type in viola soloist, they put, when you search that, they put, did you mean violin soloist?
I just need to point out in defense of the viola that this whole thing about a viola being larger than the violin is actually an optical illusion. In fact, they're about the same size, it's just that all violinists have swollen heads.
Right, because I actually played the violin instead of viola, only because every time when I was growing up and all through school, I was always friends with violists. I never hung out with violinists. So I had to keep playing violin because there weren't enough violins around. If I hung out with violinists, I would be playing viola now. That's true.
All careers have their downside. What are your least favorite parts of being a musician? Talking, to be honest.
Do you think people are born to play a certain instrument, or would Rubinstein have also been a great cellist? What do you think? I mean, that's a hard question. But what do you think?
That's a very interesting question. I mean, we don't really know the answer to that. I mean, I think any great musician probably could play any instrument very well, probably. I mean, there are certain physical things that help you play certain instruments better than others. I mean, on the cello, it helps to have long fingers, but it's not absolutely necessary. So I think where, if you have the will and the musicianship and the talent, then you can play any instrument.
On the other hand, if you know about ballet dancers and ballet teachers, how they will say, no, you don't have the right legs, you don't have the right body type, you can't be a ballet dancer. I mean, that happens with musicians also. And I have a grandson who's now almost 4 years old, and I thought, well, he has hands, he could play almost any instrument. But then his brother was born, and his brother is about 7 months old, and immediately I saw these hands, and I said, they are the hands of cellists. So I already have a cello in mind for him because of seeing his hands. So that might be the way someone gets started.
John, why is the bow hold so different on a bass than on a violin, viola, and cello?
Oh, okay. Well, there are two ways of holding the bass bow. The way I hold it is the German school, which you hold it underhand. And it comes from the older style of when they played gamelas, they held the bows underhand. And then as the instrument evolved, some people adapted the violin bow, which is holding it overhand, which we call the French bow. Right now it's kind of, America is kind of split in Europe. Most of Western Europe is French bow, most of Eastern Europe is German bow.
Can I ask a follow-up to that? So are the German school string bow holding also for the other string instruments should be the same?
No, just the
Just
bass.
the bass.
I know who wrote this because I remember when she wrote it last concert. It said, please talk about the communication between musicians during a concert. Lucy, would you like to talk about that?
Communication between and among musicians during the concert. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it, really. I mean, there are a few obvious signs when somebody leads, when I go like this, or because I'm sitting here, I tend to make some signals. But I would say the listening to the other people is so great. And I would liken it to, there are a lot of ways you listen to somebody. You listen to what they're saying, but you also listen to their intent. And there are times when you could be talking to a person, and they start talking to you, and they tell you a story, and as you tell you the story, you know that they're becoming side, and you feel it, and you feel their tension growing, and you know that that story is going to become more dramatic, and you're following it along, and then you know that your part is to say, oh, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. And so a lot of that actually goes on here. So that's one thing.
That's true. Anyone want to add anything to that? I would say that, the next question has something to do with it. It says, at what point is a conductor needed to synchronize the musicians? Suzanne, do you want to kind of talk about chamber music and conducting? That's a big one.
Well, one thing I want to say, I had a former teacher, I went to McGill, and he played concert bassoon in the Montreal Symphony for many years. And one of the things, after I finished my bachelor's degree, I ended up winning a job in the Montreal Symphony, so that was my first job. And he sat next to me, and he said, I really want this advice. He was it. Like, he gave me one piece of advice. Breathe in rhythm and don't look up. So it's kind of basically don't look at the conductor. I mean, a lot of times when you're breathing, I'm right in the middle of a bunch of wind players. So you can feel, like when Jamie brought in the pool line, he went, and you can feel it. You can feel that sort of collective, if you do it well, it's even better. But you feel a camaraderie, just by the breathing and by the moving. I was going to also mention about the communication between musicians. If you go to BSO concerts, I was kind of giving her tricks for it, but sometimes I do this, like if my principal plays really well, I'll sort of put my hand down by my knee and go like this. In other words, like a little violin type thing. You might see that kind of around the orchestra, people making comments about how, or they do the shuffle with the flip. We do that, try to do it quietly. But we do that. So sort of look around. A lot of times, for example, if one of say a musician in the front of the strings is sick, and he's out, and then somebody comes in to fill them, and they've got to play a big solo, and they do it sort of for the first time, you'll see the rest of the section going like this because, they've been put on in a really uncomfortable spot, and they're really supportive and stuff like that. So we have a lot of
And I think that the person who asked this might have really wanted to know, how do you play a piece without a conductor? If you need one for some pieces, why do you not need them for others? For a group this size, it's not very difficult, really, because we are listening. What Lucy said, I just want to make sure you understood that we need to listen to each other's parts so they fit together like a puzzle. It's not like the old joke of the two little boys who are supposed to be playing a duet, and the mother says, "Well, why are you not still in the house?" Because I was playing, but I finished first. We are on the same wavelength, and we listen to the parts which are just like putting a puzzle together. But I thought that the conductor thing is another bigger question about at one point you need a conductor.
I can just tell something funny, sort of from the business about conductors, because traditionally the relationship between the conductor and the orchestra is sometimes a little bit adversarial. I mean, they have the hierarchy; they're telling you what to do, etc. So, but if it's a great conductor, you need to watch them. You want to watch them. You're getting information from them. So where I sit in the Boston Symphony, often there's violists and other people in front of me. And I have to position myself so I can see the conductor very well. So I'll ask them, can you please move a little so I can see? On the other hand, the joke we use is that if the conductor is not so good, I might say, can you please move? I can still see.
Yes.
I mean, the thing, those of you who may have, been in a band for a couple of years and given it up, but you remember what you did then with your conductors. And I mean, the difference is when you are comfortable with your instrument, it's kind of like learning to drive a car. When you go out with a driving instructor and you need somebody to say, okay, we have a break here, don't get to put on your turn signals, okay, check your blind spots and all that. When you can drive pretty well, then it's like the conductor's sort of like the speedometer. You don't drive around staring at the speedometer. You want to have a general idea of whether you're going 100 miles an hour or 40 miles an hour. But it's just there, to kind of keep you more or less in the right place. Most of what you're doing is your own instincts and your own skills. And that's true in orchestra too. I mean, with a lot of pieces, we don't really need to look up at all. It's just every once in a while, you come into that blind curve, then maybe you should check, whether you're going way too fast.
Here's one more. Was that Julie's sister at the piano? If so, who else besides her two kids as a homeowner, so I would say certainly use it once it's done. He's sitting over there.
I think we just take one more. I like this question. Anybody can answer it. If you play a piece your whole life, how do you approach a new performance of it? Don, you have
Well, it might be the chance to do it in a different way, or at least the way you've always wanted to do it, but never had the opportunity. So, a chance to reinterpret this. And also great music continually reveals itself to you. So every time you play it, something changes, your understanding of it changes, and maybe you understand, oh, that's what Brahms meant, maybe we should try something else.
I think also, because we change, we are constantly changing. We don't look at a piece of music in the same way. So every time, even the next day, we look at a piece of music, they change.
And I just have one final one to end on a laugh, because this is such a great, funny audience. This last one said, what's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you during a performance? And I just want to know whether you have something to tell anyone.
Oh yeah, we're raising to share that.
I mean, it's a long list. As long as someone has one after one. I remember when I was pretty young, I had won a competition, and so I had a big recital to play in Toronto, where I'm from, and radio and TV cameras and big audience. And so I went out, and I was kind of nervous, but the recital basically went fine. And I came up after, it was about an hour long, a little over. I come up to bow after the last of about 6 pieces. I go like this to bow, and I look down at my flies.